Hey Tom, bendición. What's up, everybody? We're gonna wait a minute or two. In the meantime, if you see that little airplane at the bottom, Alafia, hit that little airplane and send this to some of your friends that you think should be joining us. Right at the bottom there. Forward this to your friends, Alafia, Felicia. I want to talk about a few things today. I just want to give it another minute. Let some other folks chime in. Tom, bendición, what's up, brother? All right, so we're going to talk about a couple things. I was hoping Sonny would join us. I don't think he's around. Let me see. We do have a special guest today. But let me see if I can get a hold of Alex. What's up, brother? Let's see. Nana Tutu 7, bendición. My beautiful people. It's like a little family affair. Brother Basil, what's up, man? We're gonna get started here in a second. Santo, everybody, and the bendiciones to all the elders that are here. No pressure. Just turn this down. All right. Hi, everybody. It's been a crazy week. I was gonna have my friend Sonny join me to talk about what's happened this week a little bit. You know, I think we all have heavy hearts. I've been sad, been angry, I've been everything. Angry, scared, focused, empowered, all of that. But it's been a real challenge, you know, what's going on. I don't know how some of you are younger, but I remember back to 1999, over 20 years ago, Amal Diallo was shot here in New York by police officers. Many bullets rained upon a man who was holding out his wallet. And since then, you guys have all seen the news and heard about George Floyd recently, and before that, a few years ago, Michael Brown in Ferguson, Oscar Grant, California, on and on and on. And it's tough for us to continue to see this to happen. It's just crazy. You know, you could be in your home, just chilling, and because you're a person of color, you're going to be treated differently and wind up dead potentially. You know, I mean, I think some of us leave our homes and get in the car and are always worried. You know, I remember growing up here in Brooklyn and, you know, being taught in school that police are here to protect you and all this. And I remember always being scared of police. You know what I mean? Like, just always. I mean, like, you think about what happened to Breonna Taylor in her house, you know, Tamir Rice, on and on and on. Anyway, yeah, I know Sacramento. I know Sacramento. It's like that in many places. Everybody says, "Yo, yes, it's hella racist here or racism here." It's everywhere. In some places, it's a little more obvious than others. But I think this is a time for us to decide what we want to do about it, and speak up. I think if you're not speaking up, then you're part of the problem, because this is a racist society, based on white supremacy. And if we're not standing up and speaking against it, then we're just tolerating it and being a part of the problem. So I just wanted to get that out, because I know everyone's frustrated and angry. And it's hard to get away from, especially here on social media, on the news, etc. So I get it, and I'm with you. I worry every day. I was talking to my wife last night about how do we have this conversation with our children. There's my wife. She just joined on cue. How do we have this conversation with our 12-year-old son about, you know, how to be safe in the world? So yeah. So I just wanted to get that out. But we have a guest, and we're going to talk about some really cool things. So we should do that. Yeah. I was going to talk about Lekwa a little bit, because we've been talking about different aspects of the tradition. We're talking about ancestor worship and spiritism, and we talked about Odu last week and divination. We got into that a little bit heavy. I hope it wasn't too deep. We didn't get into, you know, specifics about Odus and all that. And we may at some point, but I also wanted to like start getting into some of the Orishas, and maybe start with where we're supposed to start, with Elegua. So maybe we'll talk about Elegua a little bit today. So let me see if I can get my friend on here. Let's see if this works. And turn off this music. Ocha music distracts me. Like I can't focus on anything else. Yes, Elegua, funny trickster indeed. So let's see if we get my friend. Yes.
What's up? What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm here. You know, we here. We here.
Okay.
My petty
So
from the
please,
Lake Wild.
let's start with let's start with you introducing yourself to everyone.
Okay. Well, peace everybody that's out there. Many of you I know. So hey, what's going on? My name is Oludare, aka Baba Olu. I'm a priest of Ogun. I was born and raised in the Orisha tradition, here in New York. And so I've seen a lot of things, and I've learned a lot since I was a child. My mother and my father sing and play drums to Orisha. And so I've been learning what it is to heal with music and heal with dance since before I was born. So, you know, now many of you know me through my work with respiratory ritual and Kire wellness, and holding space for healing and deep breathing through Orisha. And all of that truly is a manifestation that happened before I even chose it, you know? So I'm here. It's hot. It's hot.
Yes.
It's almost June. You know, still quarantined and everything, but working on making sure that I stay free in my body, free in my spirit, you know, no matter what comes this way.
Yes, I share. So I usually, first time I have someone on, I usually ask them how they got involved with the tradition. I know you were born into it. So I've talked to your sister a few times, but I'd like to, I guess, maybe ask you in a different way, since you were born into it. Maybe you didn't really have a choice. So what keeps you, what attracts you to this practice? Because, you know, a lot of people are born in being Catholic and move away from it. Like, what keeps you here?
True. No, that's a good point. I've always loved Orisha. I've always been a spiritual child. You know, I've always loved it. And I've always loved regular de Ocha. I've always loved being local me. I've always loved understanding the connection between, and not just the connection, but the unification of the different spiritual practices and the different African tribes and how that lives through us.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the intelligence, the humility, and the strategy of the ancestors in Cuba and around the African diaspora. That to understand all of the differences, right? To go from a Misa to, Apollo Bembe to, Bembe of Orisha, and understand that all of it is connected in a very spiritual, sacred way, and that they don't have to be competing with each other. Although at times they may, which is fine, like it's life, it's war is a part of life. War is a part of life. And that's another piece that, I think is important to talk about right now too. That's that vibes. Right. Yeah. So, war's a part of life. So, but even understanding that, also understanding the unity that my ancestors were able to create in spirituality just always drew me. And the thing that kept me there is the music. The thing that kept me there is the movement. What kept me there was having a one-on-one conversation with God in many different ways. Being able to look left, look right, look up, look down, and still be able to have a one-on-one conversation with God and never be disconnected. Whether I'm in the street, in the subway, on a plane, in the sky, at a ceremony, at school, no matter what, Orisha, Egun, Spirit always knows how to communicate and make that message that needs to be told very clear and very personal so that it works. And I think that's the thing that is most sacred to me about what we do, is that all of it is personal. Like, I have my own road and own language with God, and you have your own road and own language with God. And God knows how to leave me a message so that it's my message and it ain't nobody else's business. And God knows how to do the same thing for you. And that's another thing that really just always intrigued me. And I just felt like it's so brilliant. Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
For
That's
God.
part of what.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, it's fine. It's fine.
No, I was going to say that that's part of what attracted me and kept me with the religion, because I grew up Catholic and was always taught that, God is, you got to go to church to see God. And for us, God is everywhere, right? It brought me back to feelings that I had as a child, being connected to earth and nature. And so as growing up, being able to reconnect to that through the religion, that's very powerful and something that I always want to keep and have that communication with God, with you're describing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the earth, because I think it's a good time to really tap into Mother Earth and be in harmony with Mother Earth. And I think there's a reason right now why, we're not even able to do like huge animal sacrifice right now, huge communal sacrifice or anything like that right now, because the earth is like, I'm tired, leave me alone. What don't y'all have? What don't you have right now? You have everything. Leave me alone. Like, let me breathe.
Right.
Let me
That's
be.
it.
Like, I'm going through something right now. Can it be about me right now? Can y'all chill? Can y'all just
That's
pray?
it.
Can y'all just breathe? Can y'all chill? So, and
Tell
I hear
me,
that.
before we jump into talking about Legua a little bit, can you share with us, if you want to, or if you want to get something off your chest with regards to what's going on with the death of George Floyd?
Man, let's see. First of all, I'm pissed. I am grieving. I am still not okay. But at this point in my life, I'm okay with not being okay.
Right.
I'm okay with living through my pain. And I've understood that I've been given the tools necessary to do just that. I've been given the tools necessary to heal, to get through this. I've also been given the sight and the clarity to understand that we don't die. We transition, we change, but we don't die. And I'm at a point in my life where it's like, listen, you either believe in this or you don't. You either believe in this or you don't.
That's it.
And those that know die differently than those that do not know. And I didn't make a pact with the earth to have fear about going back to her, to have fear about surrendering my last breath back to her, about surrendering my body back to her. I didn't do that to have fear.
That's it.
So, so what I do feel is that for those of us who are children of light and who have made decisions to be global positioning systems for divine energy, right?
That's it.
To stand in your power. Stand in your power and stand in the trust of the decisions that we have made. So my response to what I see in the world and what's going on with George Floyd is to hold space for healing, to hold space for grief, to hold space for the breath, which is what my work is dedicated to.
That's it.
To hold space for us to surrender this fight that we feel is ours. When the truth is, this is bigger than us. This is bigger than George Floyd. This is, as they say, it's above me. This is so above me, it's crazy. One of the things I do feel, though, is that I feel like Black bodies are the closest to Mother Earth. And so the Earth is hurting, and so are we, in a very, very visceral way that people can feel and people can see. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's a coincidence. And I don't think it's a coincidence why African spirituality is so grounded in making connections with nature.
Mm-hmm.
In making connections with nature. Because when we do that, we put ourselves in alignment to give us the space and the protection from a lot of tragedy and loss and a lot of the imbalance in the world. So as an Orisha, I know that because of the decisions that I've made, there is an alteration or almost like a DJ skit of time in the way that I receive the world and I receive the vibrations of the world. It's different because before it gets to me, it has to go through my Ocha, it has to go through my ancestors, it has to go through my spiritual guides before any of that. So there's filters there that are made so that the energy that is truly, the work that is truly there for me to do is clear. And the work that is for them to do is for them to do. And I don't even necessarily need to be all up in their business. I just need to know this is above me. So what I've dedicated myself to is breathing. Is breathing. Because I cannot be arrogant enough to sit here and look around the world and take responsibility for everything that's going on.
I
have to surrender a certain level of control. I have to. I have to. For my own peace, for my own clarity. And I'll stop there.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Mm. I like the way you described it as a filter, because it is a lot. The world is a lot. And having Orisha and having Egun and having spirit guides they're that filter. They get you the information that they think you need to get you to the next place. So I think that's well said. Thank you. So this is going to be our first official conversation about an Orisha. This is episode 9 of Ocha Talk, and we haven't talked about any Orishas. Because the way I see it is there has to be a foundation, an understanding of the concepts of the tradition, an understanding of what it means to have divination, what it means to have spirit guides, what it means to be a part of this tradition. And we haven't gotten to the Orisha part of it, gotten into the specifics of Orisha, because you can be a santero or Iyalocha, Babalocha, however you want to say it, and say a moyuba or do an ebo, and if you don't know why you're doing it or the basis behind it, it's not the same ashe that it's going to have when you understand and know the intention of what you're doing. And so that's why I was trying to like help people have a foundation. And we have some priests here that are here every week. We have folks that are new, that are learning. And so I'm kind of trying to walk that balance, not to get too deep into a particular subject or get into details of ritual, which might be useful for an Orisha. But even the details of the ritual, if I tell you do these 5 steps, I don't think it's going to be effective if you don't understand why you're doing it and what the purpose is and where that came from and all that. So anyway, so we're going to talk about Elegba.
Okay, cool.
What does Elegba mean to you? What is he in your life?
Elegba is everything. Elegba is the key holder. Elegba is the one. Elegba is potential energy. So anything and everything that exists has to happen through Elegba. And as far as I understand, even before creation is allowed, there has to be a conversation between Olodumare and Elegba to make sure that it happens. So, I like to think of Elegba as like all the dark matter, all the space in between what we can actually see and feel and observe, right? The space that holds existence. And Elegba is beautiful. Elegba to me is the energy that's already there before there is something. And when I teach my song classes and when I do respiratory ritual and I bring people into the breathwork of Orisha, I talk about this, that in the songs for Elegba, it already teaches us this, what I was just saying about Elegba being there, Eshu being there before there is anything. In every song, before we start, we have to say Ago Elegba. We have to ask permission to start. We have to ask Elegba to make way. We have to acknowledge the presence that already exists before we start doing whatever we're doing. And to me, that is the proof in what our ancestors have recorded through their poetry and through the music, etc., it's the proof in their understanding of that.
Ashe. Ashe.
And it's humble. So Elegba teaches us humility. Elegba teaches us humility because we have to ask first.
Ashe. We
So
talked about that last week a little bit.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Hi, Ama.
What's up, sis?
Here's the thing about Elegba. You're right. He's the key. He's the easiest Orisha, I think, to talk about for folks, because that's, if you look on the internet, there's a lot of information. And you know, in the past, you know, people say, "Oh, be careful what's out on the internet." There's a lot of good information on the internet these days, because people like us are on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we're having this conversation. Elegba is all of those things. He is the trickster. He opens the doors. To me, I think of him as my feet. Mm-hmm. I think of him as my feet. You know, my feet that have their own brain. So I can't really control. I can ask, like, which way are we going? Which way should I go? And last week, someone posted a question about, I asked, we talked about divination, and I talked about Obi or something like that. And somebody said, well, you know, I asked Elegba if I should do this, and then I did it, and things turned out bad. And one of the things people need to know about Elegba is that there's the way Elegba works is, if you ask a question, he's like an architect, or I don't know, like someone that has to studies the plans. So if you say to him, I want to move to Florida. So he's going to look at you and say, okay, this is what's going on in Oludade's life. If he goes to Florida, this is what's going to happen. No, you shouldn't go to Florida. And Oludade says, I want to go to, let me ask again. Guess what's going to happen eventually? He's going to say, go to Florida. That's Elegba. So that's why people say the trickster, he's not trying to trick you. You're tricking yourself. You're tricking yourself because you're not understanding. And I lived this for many, many years because my godmother, who was on one of the episodes, is made to Elegba. And she might say something to me 4 times and it doesn't register. Doesn't register in my head. Like, she would say things backwards, or like, I really have to study what she's saying and how I should take it, and so there's no misunderstandings. And so Elegba is you have to be focused and paying attention, and use your Ori, because Elegba will quote unquote trick you, but he's not tricking you. You're tricking yourself. Ashe. That's right. I said, do you, boo? That's what Elegba says. That's what's up. Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to say. Yeah. You don't want to listen? All right. Yeah, it's all good. Absolutely. I know a lot of children of Elegba, fun-loving, but you have to be very attentive to what's happening and what they're saying, because it could go wrong. Ashe. Pay attention. That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
The little flyer I made, I had the garabato on there because I was going to talk about Elegba. The garabato is one of Elegba's tools. It's made from the guava tree. It's the wood from the guava tree, and it can be used by Elegba very similarly to Ogun's machete. He will clear the way for you with his garabato. He can also use it to bring in ire for us. But he can also use it to move things out of your way. But he can also use it to make you trip and fall, for good and bad, which is what I was talking about, right? If you're trying to go left, and he knows left is not good for you, he's gonna trip you so you don't go left. But if you insist on going right when you're supposed to go left, he's gonna trip you that way too, and make you fall the wrong way. So it's very important to pay attention when you're dealing with Elegua. But Elegua is very powerful, very responsive, Orisha. When you ask him for things and it is something that you should have and should do, he's going to help for sure. So that's my man.
Ashe. Ashe. Somebody said he's
My partner's dialogue isn't proper. What did you say that wasn't proper? There's nothing not proper here, my friend.
Right. Now I like my sister's question though. She said, as warrior children, what's your daily practice with Eshu and Elegba? That's a good one. That's a good one. Cool water. Tutu, only tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu la roya babawa. Cool water. No matter what, you know, like it doesn't have to always be so deep. You know, I don't gotta be like, oh, like it don't have to be all that. Chill, yo. You just woke up, you know, be gentle. Everything that I teach when it comes to spirituality is be gentle. Be gentle. Be gentle. Even when you're opening up a coconut, be gentle. Everything, be gentle. So just cool water in the morning because I want the path to be cool. I want the day to be cool. And even in the midst of chaos, destruction, tyranny, police brutality, life still goes on. Right? Breakfast still got to be made. People still got to eat. Like life still happens. So no matter what the climate, whether I'm in the middle of a fire, God forbid, or, you know, it's a rainbow outside and there's strawberries, you know, on the blanket and I'm good. It's just, you know, heavenly. No matter what, there is always a road to be walked.
Mm-hmm.
And there is always the best that can happen and the worst that can happen in any situation. So no matter what the situation, no matter what my lifestyle, because I don't judge, right? Like, no matter what my lifestyle, no matter what your lifestyle, there's still the best that can happen and the worst that can happen. So we put cool water on the ground to elect by and ask for a cool path, ask for a good road, again, so that things turn out the best that they can. And maybe the best that can happen is, you know, you get the job you want, you live in where you want, you get to vacation, whatever. And then sometimes maybe the best that can happen is just that you didn't go crazy that day.
Right.
You were able to sleep that day. You know,
like
you were able to complete a task that day that you knew you were surrounded by enemies or surrounded by grief or surrounded by whatever, but you were still able to get through. So no matter what level the success is divine by you. But no matter what, that cool water just helps to make a pact between you and Elegba that this is what I want today. I want coolness in my day. I want coolness. And that's the thing I feel like people need to understand with working with Orisha. Like you said before, that you trick yourself, you also have to ask for what you want. Of course, there are things that we cannot avoid. There are unavoidable things in life that we cannot avoid. And we're not asking to avoid those things. But we are asking for the best outcome possible with the cards that I have. This is what I got. This is who I am. I'm a Black man in America. I bet. Boom. How we moving through this? What's up? And how am I moving through this so I can keep my head up, so that I can still smile in the day, so that, you know what I mean, I can still follow my dreams, so etc. You know, so the cool water, that's my practice.
Yeah, so you are not in, I'm not gonna say not the majority, but there's a lot of people that don't ask for the best possible outcome. They ask for very specific things because they have it in their head that that's best outcome. That's when they get tricked.
That's a trick. See, I learned that a long time ago. Again, you know, if y'all ever take classes with Key Ray Wellness, if y'all ever come to me for spiritual work, if y'all ever do one-on-one sessions, breath work, if y'all ever do anything with me, you understand that I teach surrender. Not surrender to the police. You know, not surrender to the next person, but surrender to the energy that gives us the strength to exist. And let go of the burden of trying to figure everything out for ourselves, because our minds and our vision sometimes is so limited as to what the outcome can really be. So I may ask for $1 million, and Alec was like, "Bruh, I had $1 billion for you, stupid."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
So just that understanding of like, leave it open ended, and just trust that you are in a relationship with energy, with nature, and that it's a trusting and loving relationship. That they got
Ashe.
that you're in it together with nature. You're in it together with life. You're not against life being in Orisha. So trusting in that, and trusting in that they know your potential. They created you.
I call it fearless faith.
Yeah.
Fearless faith. You have to have faith fearlessly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Michelle just said detachment from the outcome. And Maferi Maya, because in Omo Yamaya, who just passed away, actually right before all the COVID craziness, is Sojourner Omire Lekun Ibaye. This woman is an icon. I swear, like the way that she has helped to heal the Black LGBT community and everybody that comes around her, in the Bronx and, you know, all around the city in New York. One of the things that she told me, that she said, you know, you have to detach from the outcome. You have to be okay with not knowing exactly what's going to happen, and also still have conviction. You know, like, and I was just like, dang, yeah, like, you know, like, you can't. And then she would also say stuff like, you can't hold on and let go at the same time.
Right.
You know, she would say these things, and you know, there's a point where, like you said, you have to be fearless in the faith, and you have to let go, you have to surrender, and you have to trust that when you fall, nature's gonna catch you. When you fall, Orisha's gonna catch you. And just be okay with that. And that's the same thing as well with like transitioning or dying, right? Like, we don't die. We have to trust that when we surrender this lifetime, that we're gonna be fine. And I feel like that, trusting that and trusting the faith in something bigger than us is what's gonna help us to not have fear in any other realm of our life. You know. And back to Alegba, I do want to share one thing with y'all. We say I go Elegba at the beginning of a ceremony, and we say I go Elegba at the end of a ceremony. And that tells us something. That tells us that when it ends, it don't end. Because how we saying make way at the end?
That's it. I wanna share a little ebo for everybody. Since we're talking about Elegua. Elegua, I talked about the garabato and how he uses it. The guava leaves, the guava leaves are very important in our ceremonies. I won't go into any details, but in some of our ceremonies, that plant is critical to some of the things that we do. But it's always present when we're doing our ceremonies. You have to have that plant. And Elegua also loves guava, which is why I put guava in that last flyer that I posted right before the session today. So if you take 3 guava and cut them in half, and open them, and you sprinkle some honey and some eya eneku for you all Orishas. You sprinkle that on there, and you get a white plate. So you put that in front of Elegua, and on a white plate you put 2 candles, and you leave that there for 3 days. And each day, on a brown piece of paper, you write down one of your desires, and that desire could be just mental peace. Write down that desire and put it inside one of the halves of the guava. The next day, on another brown piece of paper, write down another desire, so that you have 3 desires inside by the 3rd day inside the guava. At the end of the 3rd day, you take the 2 guava halves and put them back together, wrap them in brown paper bag, and then take each one in a brown paper bag separately and put them together and bring them to one of Elegua's favorite places, whether that's the Manigua or the Four Corners or a playground, what have you, and see what happens. Okay, and I would like to say that Ebo comes out of this book right here. Okay, so we talked about this on the 3rd class. Well, I don't want to call it class, but the 3rd Ocha talk. This is the ritual use of plants in Lukumi tradition by Maria Ogunbemi, who was on, and we're going to have her on again because she's a fountain of information. So this is the 3rd edition. It's available. There's pataquins in here. There's the odus for the plants are here. This particular, I think, Ebo is in Irosun Osa, and she puts that little obra in there for that one. So yeah, check out that book. This book is serious. This is I don't know if you call it the session, but Maria Ogunbemi is one of like 4 or 5 female obas in the world.
Ashe, beautiful.
And I know your mom is studying also, but this woman is unbelievable.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
And she's here. There you go. She just put a thumbs up. San Pedro medal. And it's your madrina.
Well, listen, speaking of books, since you brought up books, I have a book coming out on
June I was gonna get to that. I was gonna ask you because I saw you post something about it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, this year in Cuba, I believe Osa is the letter too, which is, it's very beautiful, it's interesting. And my testimony, my work in life is really about the breath. It's about the breath. It's about breathing. And so I have a book coming out June 24th, 2020, called Breathing with Orisha. It's Breathing with Orisha, a guide to movement, prayer, and song as respiratory ritual and respiratory activism against trauma, depression, and anxiety in the African diaspora.
Ashe.
So, is it okay if I read an excerpt?
Come on, dude. What are you asking?
So, being polite, But just even before I get into the excerpt, I just really wanted to also just speak about Orisha and the fact that being an Orisha doesn't necessarily mean that you're pro-Black. And Orisha is all around the world, all around the universe. And it is important for Black folks going through Black things, going through the oppression that Black people go through, to speak about Orisha in terms of what we're going through specifically. And that if we don't speak on that specifically, no one else will. If we don't pull out and draw out the medicine that Orisha has for us, for what we're going through specifically, no one else will. Right? So we have to be willing to look at the ashe that we have been gifted with and figure out what tools are specifically for us and for our healing that don't require a ceremony or require spending money or etc. You understand that
Mm-hmm.
there is work that Orisha has for us that we need to do that costs no money. And
Mm-hmm.
that is breath. That is breathing. No matter if it's at a ceremony, no matter if it's by yourself, no matter what, our ancestors have left ways for us to breathe that heal us, that vibrate through our bodies and allow us to release pain, allow us to release trauma, allow us
Mm-hmm.
to release anxiety, allow us to release sickness. So whether that's through us singing a song that has sacred words and sounds that activate our healing, or that's an Orisha coming possessed in the room and screaming or speaking to you through the
Mm-hmm.
breath to give you information that will help you to change the trajectory of your life. No matter what, no matter what, it is the breath that gives us the ashe to live and live well. Down to even when we say, to ibanesho. We have to seal,
Gotcha.
we have to seal everything with the breath.
Gotcha.
Everything we do has to be sealed with the breath. No matter what we do, no matter if we're making herbal baths, no matter what we're doing, we are singing, we are breathing, we are praying. So I'm going to read y'all an
Gotcha.
excerpt. I'm going to read y'all an excerpt from the book. Again, the title of my book coming out is Breathing with Orisha, a guide to movement, prayer, and song as respiratory ritual and respiratory activism against trauma, depression, and anxiety in the African diaspora. And you can find it at www.kireywellness.com. So this excerpt says, the title of this part is, Who Am I and Why Do I Breathe? Breath is my elder, my ancestor, the eldest and most indispensable force that gives life to material. Before I do anything, before I become anyone, I am breath. It is widely understood in the Orisha diaspora that Olodumare, the creative force from which all life begins, shares itself with inanimate matter in the form of Emi, that which gives life to the body. When we receive Emi and take our first breaths, also the word Emi, we create in this moment a sacred bond between the physical and spiritual realms. We embody the power of God and give shape to what was once nebulous. As vessels, we are all divinely feminine in nature, for we must receive and hold space for the spiritual, unseen energy that gives us the ability to breathe. When we inhale, and me gives us awareness, consciousness, purpose, pause, and power. However, this power is temporary in our bodies, and we must return it back to its source, back to Olodumare, to be shared someplace else and or in something else. When I exhale, I surrender arrogance for trust, silence for communication, and stagnation for flow. I return and me back to the Creator in the greatest gesture of humility. For to exhale is to acknowledge that the breath never belonged to me. I belong, have always belonged, and will forever belong to it. I am a messenger for God, for life-giving energy, collecting information as I roam about with purpose. When I interact with energies that are harmful or destructive, I must remember to exhale. When I am humble enough to exhale, I surrender my battles and share the responsibility of life with Olodumare. I remember that I do not create life and that I am simply a part of it, an active force within, and therefore should not take the blame and responsibility for everything and everyone also gifted with the same blessing. The information I collect through my experience, the energy of it, the vibration of it is released when I breathe. The sounds I create, the words, the melodies, the grunts, the motions I create, the dances, the gestures, the stillness, all communicate my experience of life with Olodumare. My ancestors knew this and trusted in the eternity and intelligence of me. They created songs and gestures to record the happenings of life. They recorded these songs and gestures to rhythms, and in doing so, archived life in a way that can be embodied so long as we possess the breath. The songs and gestures passed down through generations and generations hold the power of healing because they possess the historical, cultural record of life for African descendants. In this record, there is proof that life is circular and that things repeat themselves. So as we go through our hardships here in the 21st century, the songs and movements of the ancestors show us the solutions and methods that have already been obtained through trial and error. There is no need to know, only a need to breathe in the rhythm of the ancestors so that the solutions may reveal themselves. When we exhale, we give life a chance to tell us what to do next. We give it over to God, to the ancestors, to the life force energy that holds all the records. When we exhale, we then have the opportunity to inhale and receive new information, new blessings, new guidance and inspiration that provides solutions to our problems. There are no secrets kept from the breath, kept from the spirit, kept from God. If you breathe, you have a chance to be guided by the wisdom and forces greater than the self, greater than your enemy, and greater than the obstacle. In closing, breath does not belong to me. I belong to the breath. And if I am humble enough to exhale, I set myself free and gift myself peace. Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So again,
I, I posted the link. I pinned it there for you guys to go to the website. You can also hit up Oludare on Instagram. He does classes all the time. So dance class, song classes, Vogue classes.
Yep. Everything in movement and everything in song because it's all breath.
Yes.
It all starts with breath.
Can you go past 6 a little bit?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Santo, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So we've been on here for almost an hour talking about all kinds of things, life, Elegua. We talked a little bit about Odu, plants. We talked about breath. My head's gonna explode. We talked about the guava plant. I'm trying to remember in Madrina's book, one of the things she talks about, I'm trying to remember if it's the guava plant or another plant, something that you can do. I think it's the guava plant. She can correct me. That you can, some people take the leaves and put them in their shoes to bring them ire. Madrina, if you're there, if you can tell me if that's accurate. Is that the guava leaf you put in your shoe? Let me know if that's factual or not. Negra con tumbao.
Right. She's been giving life in the comments. She's been giving life in the comments.
Another one of Elegua's plants is the Iweriyeye plant. Well, not just Elegua's plant. You can use that plant to Madrina's driving. Another one of the plants is the Iweriyeye plant that you can use to substitute for other plants sometimes where you don't have them. And that plant, the Odu for that plant is Odibara, which Elegua speaks in that Odu. And in Odibara, that's where Elegua, I'm sorry, Obatala saves people because of their indecision, where you cannot be indecisive. And so if you see some people wearing this, I'm wearing right now. See, this is the peony plant. This is the seed from the Wariyeye. And you don't want to eat these seeds, but some people eat the root for stomach issues. And you can see they're red and black seeds. And
yeah, the root, not the seed. The root,
yeah,
not
don't
the
eat the
seed.
seed.
Not the seed.
Don't eat the seed.
Poisonous.
But one of the stories about this, again, also in this book is just chock full of information. But one time, the red side was saying, "Oh, I'm the most beautiful. People love me. I'm the best." And then the black side was like, "Nah, I'm the best. Everybody loves me." Blah 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 blah. And they started arguing and having a big fight. And they created such a ruckus that was disturbing Shango. So Shango took all the peony seeds and put them inside a gourd. And that was the birth of this guy right here.
Dang.
Odibara. So all this information is in here. I'm going to post this I'm going to actually make a post, put the picture in my Instagram for this book. But if you go to ogunbemi.com with 2 G's, Ogunbemi, OGGUNBEMI.com. That's where you can get the book. So, check it out. I want to ask you another question.
Okay.
What is it like, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I think you will because I've heard you talk about this before, so I know it's not. What is it like to be a gay man in our tradition?
I don't identify as gay. I identify as same-gender loving.
Okay.
And specifically because I was educated on the fact that gay was a term that was created by white gay men, and the benefits from that term do not really benefit Black people. So around the 70s, I believe, there was a group of gay men, a group of same-gender loving Black men who came up with the term same-gender loving, so that they can own their own sexuality, and not just their sexuality, but just own their own identity without necessarily having to be associated with white gay men. Because when you go into the gay communities that are white, if you are Black, you're a token. Everything is catered to whiteness. So no, I'm not gay.
As
Right.
a same gender loving man in our tradition, what's the experience like for you?
It's important for people to know that. It's important for people to know
that.
Because terms are political, and they hold different weight. But yeah, even like the creation of the rainbow flag, like they wasn't thinking about us. It wasn't thinking about us. So yeah, in this tradition, shoot, that's a big question. So I've been a same gender loving man my whole life, and in understanding what that means, it was very confusing growing up, because of the homophobia that is really present within the people. I'm in Omo Anya, so I've been consecrated to the Anya drum, and that's what I've done my whole life. Like I said, my whole life is dedicated to breathing, to music, to the songs of Orisha, and healing through music. And so I did that. And I still do that. And the most, I think it's been harmful being in a place of healing, like a damboard or in a ceremony, and then also having the people stuff, right? Having the homophobia there. I grew up in a lot of silence. Not necessarily feeling safe. Always feeling, like I said, very silenced, very marginalized. Because, already being Black and then being same gender loving, it's like otherness within otherness. Mm-hmm. When you're sitting at a table and it's, faggot this, gay that, these people, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's always the butt of the joke. Gay people are always the butt of the joke at an Anya table. They're always being made fun of, although Ocha is made by and for women and gay folks. Like, wait, women and same gender loving folks, excuse me. Like, what? Like, Omarians wouldn't get $1 in their pocket if it wasn't for same gender loving people and women. Like, let's keep it a buck.
Right.
Let's keep it a buck. And yes, the work that Omarians do is healing. It is healing work for the community, but it also feeds their kids. It also pays their bills.
Right.
So when we think about marginalizing any community, we have to think about all of that, right? And when I was marginalized from the Omoanya community, yes, yeah, there's a lot to talk about, y'all. Like, this ain't a 15-minute conversation.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna get it all tonight. That's a whole nother book. Like,
that's the next book.
Yeah, like, seriously.
No, I understand.
Like, for real, you know. But I think it's important to understand about, like, livelihood, you know, that when I was marginalized by the Anya community, it not only gave me a challenge of, first of all, I'm already naturally a healer through music. So figuring out how to do that in a very different way, right? Outside of community.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard. That was very, very hard. It's still hard. It's still frustrating. However, I'm stronger than it. And guess what? I still play Anya.
Gotcha.
Not with those guys. I don't play Anya with Baba Felix. I don't play Anya with Abby. I don't play Anya with these folks, you know what I'm saying, who have literally said to my face, you can't sit with us and you can't play. I don't play with them.
I have Anya. I have Anya. So you're welcome to play whenever you want.
Shit. We need people like you.
So that's the thing. So I think there's a lot of sexism, patriarchy. There's a lot of things that are inherent in the tradition that is not part of Orisha. It's things that we bring as flawed humans to the table. And I think it's our responsibility to bring our values. You can't put your values to the side when you're because you're doing something ceremonially or in the tradition. You have to bring your values. That's part of who you are. I'll tell you a story. A couple of years ago, I was playing a tambor with my drums. I can't remember where it was, but we had men serving the drummers. They're Oshun priests. Mm-hmm. And a couple of guys were complaining, like, why these men serving us? They shouldn't be serving us. And I shut it down. It's like, they're Oshun priests. That's what they're supposed to do. Oshun doesn't look at gender. Mm-hmm. That's it, period. End of story. And that's the only way we can progress, if you bring your values and not stay quiet. And that applies to what we were talking about earlier, what happened this week with George Floyd is, you know, if you're not saying anything, then you're part of the problem. You're perpetuating what's going on here in this country. Because it just is. I mean, it's up to all of us. It's not just the folks that are complaining the most or that are upset the most. It's for all of us to change.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Yeah, I want to shout out my godfather, Maju Bona, Odeto B, Baba Tony, Omo Chosi, because the first drums that I ever played after being marginalized were his drums. And I also have to shout out Alberto. I don't know if anybody remembers Alberto. He passed away by the drummer, Puerto Rican drummer from New York. Very famous drummer. And he passed away, but I can tell the story now because it's already happened. But I had an ita, and they told me, they said, you know, you have to live out loud. Like, you can't hide. You have to be yourself in public. You can't worry about what people think. Like, nothing like that. And that was super hard for me because when you grow up in a very homophobic environment. And yes, playing drums with Papa Felix was a very homophobic environment, period. It was. And he was the head of that, and it went through all of my god brothers and everybody. And he's not the only one, but he comes from that generation. You know what I'm saying? That generation was very, like, you know, machismo and, like, you know, whatever. And it also comes from the Regla de Ocha and Lukumi as well. That same homophobia comes out of Cuba. You know, like, we have to talk about that too.
Ashe.
And, you know, I've never been to Africa, and I've never talked to Omanias in Africa, but I'm not, you know, taking Africa off the hook either. Like, I'm not taking Oyo off the hook neither, you know, because I don't know. But, you know, it was a very, very homophobic environment growing up in that. And I forgot why I was about to say that, because I went back to Oyo. That took my mind in a whole another direction. Like, well, now I'm actually interested. Like, so how is, you know, my question really is, like, what is Anya like in, you know, in Oyo or in Africa? I wonder how it is there. You know, I wonder how it is there. I was talking about Alberto.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, they told me that, you know, I had to be who I was, and so it was hard growing up in a very homophobic environment, because you think that's all that there is. You know, you think that that's all that is Anya, you know, like, you know. And the trouble in that my whole experience with Anya, with Baba Felix, is that I became an Omoanya as a child. So being an Omoanya wasn't just about playing the drums. It was really about a family, about a brotherhood. It was about being around men, you understand, that supported and loved you, whatever.
Right.
You know, that you were in community with, which was very important, because I lost my father when I was young. And my relationship with Anya and Baba Felix got stronger after that. So when, you know, the break happens because I decided to live in my truth, that hurt. You know, it hurt a lot. And I thought that meant that Anya had a problem with me, but that's not the truth either. You know, because I talked to Anya. I went and had a reading with Ifa and talked to Anya directly. And Anya said, "You good with me, Papa?" Anya said, "You good with me," from the moment that I became an Omoanya. Right?
Ashe.
Like to keep it a buck, you know, I've seen people who were told no at the door and still allowed at the door.
Right.
Hello. You know what I'm saying? Like, all type of bow, and we're gonna figure out this and that and whatever to get them through the door. I had a green light. Anya said, "Stop."
Ashe.
So but, you know, the Ita said, you know, you have to live out loud. You have to live out loud. You have to be who you are. And no matter what, one day somebody's going to ask you to play the drum. And I went to do a tambor in Philly. And it was for Ochosi. It was for my godfather's Ochosi. He was giving knife. And Ochosi came down. And when he was down, Alberto Ibae was playing the iya. And he was a student of Felipe Garcia out in Cali, you know, Matancero style. And he looked at me, he said, "Olu, come on, man." And I was like, "Yo, bro, chill, what you talking about, whatever." I was in my feelings still, whatever. He was like, "Nah, you playing." He was like, "You playing today." And he passed me the caja right there in the tambor. And that was the first tambor I ever played after coming out, was to Ochosi. It was the Orisha of Justice. It was the Orisha that made sure I had Ocha, the Orisha of my Ajabona, and specifically the Orisha of my Ajabona, who the tambor was for. Like, it wasn't just the tambor for Ochosi, it was the Ochosi that I was born from, who I played drums for the first time after coming out. So, you know, I trusted in that Ita, and I trust in Orisha. I trust in the conversation. And that's exactly what I did. I said, you know, I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to live my truth. And it happened just the way, you know, the Ita talked about. And so, you know, honestly, to any Omoanya out there that, you know, still is living in that homophobic ideology, I pray for you. You know, I pray for you, and I pray that, you know, that you understand that you don't have to be closeted in order to be an Omoanya. You don't have to degrade other people for living in their truth. And that, you know, if you are closeted Omoanya, that it's safe to come out. You know, whoever you lose, trust me, they'll be replaced. They'll be replaced by others, you know,
That's
that
right.
support you and support you.
That's right.
And I specifically say that for my young ones, you know, like the younger men in my community who are already out. They have such a bravery, you know, with it. You know, I have a few younger god brothers who are just like, "This is who I am." You know what I'm saying? Like, boop. And I'm like, that's so dope. You know, that's so dope. And I'm so happy because I know that my decision wasn't in vain. Like, I know that my decision wasn't in vain because they're going to have a different opportunity and a different reality than I've had. I also want to speak to, though, the problem that I feel the homophobia is based off of, though, is the homophobia is based in misogyny, and it's based in a hatred of the divine feminine. You know, it's based on the hatred of the divine feminine.
I was about to go there.
Yeah, we can't talk about allowing Omoanyas that are same gender loving to play the drum without talking about women playing the drum. We have to have that conversation, and that has to be something that is defined and understood according to Odu, according to the science of Anya. Who really knows the science of Anya, right? If it's something about blood and this and that, well, then we need to make sure we understand what the hell that really means.
Right.
Because there's a lot of women that don't bleed. There's a lot of women who don't have a uterus. There's a lot of women who have already gone through menopause. There's a lot of women who own Anya. And we're not talking about that. So we can't just open the door and then keep it within the patriarchy and make space for gay men or same gender loving men and not have a conversation about women, because then we're just asking for a seat at the table. You understand? We're not really asking for change. What we're doing is, you know, just being like, well, let us in, you know, and I'm not about that. Like, honestly, when I came out, my whole eyes were open to the misogyny and the homophobia. And honestly, I don't want to sit at the table. I don't want to, unless everybody's welcome. I don't want that seat. I don't want to sit next to you. I don't want to play your drums. Period. Because we cannot separate what we do in our ceremony from what's happening in the world. And our ceremonies reflect the political climate of what's happening in the world. So maybe people will be like, oh my God, you know, whatever, but oh well. Oh well. If we're going to talk about change, you know, my ferifun Ocha, this is the 9. If we're going to talk about change, then we have to talk about it.
Ashe. So Donna says she's lost. So we're going to take a step back because some people don't know what we're talking about. So Anya, that lives inside the sacred drums that we play in the tambores, we've been taught by our elders that they're only to be played by men, not women.
And straight men at that.
And straight men.
Quote unquote.
Right. Yep. So my position is this. I am in the process of doing research because I understand that there's the patriarchy and there's the misogyny, but there's also an understanding that men and women are different energies, different forces. And that's fine. And we understand what those are and what they bring to the table, right? Men need women, women need men. How does that pertain to playing the Anya drum? You know, oh, women can't play the drum for whatever reason. You name some there, but I don't want to get into it right now. But I was taught, as all Omoanyas are taught and all Olubatas are taught, which I am, that women can't be near the Anya drum. Don't let a woman stand to the side of your drums, or let alone play them. And I'm in the process of doing the research to understand where that comes from and why, because I don't believe that to be so. But I can't just arbitrarily say that because I want to be able to defend it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my process right now, because I want to be able to defend my decision, which I know what my decision is going to be. But I want to be able to defend it, and not just, oh, because I feel like it. I want to be able to defend it because somebody's going to quote some Odu to me, and I'm going to be able to quote 3 Odus that tell them that they're full of shit. So that's where I'm at. I don't want to get any deeper into it, but only because this doesn't pertain to a lot of the folks that are here with us. Yes, there are female Akbons for sure, and we were talking about.
They were the first.
We're talking about Maria. Maria is a child of Ogun. She's an Obasa, and she is a queer woman. Okay, so you can imagine what her life was like to get to where she is today. That's another book and movie that I want to, because she's told me many stories of what she's gone through to get to where she is. Her persistence. I think she shared one of the stories with us, one of the Ocha talks of when she was going through her process of becoming an Oba, and how she was being denied, and then she was walked into someone's house who agreed to help her in Cuba because everyone else was saying no. And when she walked into this man's house, it turned out to be one of her teachers that she adored. And he saw her, he was like, wow, what are you doing here? And she's like, I didn't know you were doing this. So, yes, of course I'm going to help you. You know? So it's an interesting path. I'm letting it unfold for me slowly. But I know that things are going to be the way they're supposed to be, because we're the next generation and we're bringing our values to the table. And Orisha adapts to survive. And I'm working on another project that talks about adaptation of the Orisha in this world that we live in today. Because it is different. We're not all living in the same neighborhood. We're not all on the same block. We're not all in the same house. We're not all living together under one roof and learning the same things at the same time together and having that community. Some people have it more than others. You do because of your family situation. But there's people that go to Cuba, make Ocha, and go back to Idaho, and they're in Idaho by themselves, which makes it a challenge for them to learn. Right? They're not living in a terreiro in Brazil, in Bahia. So it's a challenge, and so Orishas adapt and change to how we interact with them because they want to be here for us, and they know if we love them, they will be here, and they will adapt to however we want to work with them. No, we don't speak Yoruba. We may speak broken Yoruba. We may speak Anago, or we may speak to them in Spanish, or we may speak to them in English. They're going to understand because they're going to adapt to what we're trying to do. And so if adapting means that women are playing Anya, then that's going to happen. Okay, off my soapbox.
And there's proof that women own Anyas. Like, that's research that we can find easily. That's not even like hidden, because the tejeros in the houses were run by the women. So that's a part of the, part of the journey that I know will be talked about again. Yeah.
Someone here has asked several times for you to sing a song.
Oh.
Your sister, by the way.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sing a song to Oya because it's the 9th session, because we're talking about Osa and revolution and change in our tradition. We're also talking about Osa and revolution that's happening in the world. And we're also talking about my book, Breathing with Orisha, and talking about the breath. And the song that I want to sing is a song that many people know, but they may not understand the meaning of it. And what this song is talking about is how Oya relies on the energy of the ancestors to show up abundantly. That when Oya shows up, she always wins because she's not just fighting with what you can see. Give me 1 second. So, Oya shows up fighting with more than just the seen. She's fighting with the unseen as well. And so whenever Shango goes to war, he calls on Oya because he knows Oya is going to bring that heat. All right, and that Oya is going to bring abundance from realms that can't be seen. So this song says that when Oya arrives, scarcity ends. And so I sing this song today asking all of you to trust in your breath, trust in breathing, trust in understanding that when you take deep breaths, that you are allowing your ancestors to fill you, to give you pause, to know what to do now or next. That you don't have to figure everything out on your own.
Ashe.
That you can relax, that you can breathe deeply and be guided. We have to trust in what we have. We have to have faith in what we have. We have to have faith and trust in our ancestors and in nature and in the realms that we cannot see. We cannot be afraid of death, and we cannot be afraid of change. We have to trust. We have to trust that there is more than just ourselves, that there's something bigger out there that helps us to live. We're not in this by ourselves. And also that when we trust in our breath, we breathe with each other. We breathe the same air here. So you could be around the world, but if you're breathing and I'm praying and you're praying, we could send messages to each other. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. I'm sitting at my bovada praying and singing or whatever, and somebody else will hit me up from around the world and say, yo,
Ashe.
they telling me this. Because we're tapping into, like I said, we all got GPS systems. We're tapping into
the spiritual WhatsApp.
Yeah. And you got to remember, Western society is late. All of this virtual stuff is late. This is still slower. This is still slower than the message I could send through the Bovada. And through
I want to say, before you get to your song, I want to say something because I've been holding it in. And I want to say it with this intention that I have right now, because if I hold it back for later. So, Key, Miss Negra with Tumbao, I saw your post earlier about somebody telling you that if you were a man, blah, blah, blah. I just want to say this. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. If you want to be an Oriate, you can be an Oriate. End of story. And I'm sorry, I don't know your elders or whoever told you that, but that's bullshit. Period. With a T. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so like, you know, so to that point, this song is saying that you have to trust, because when Oya arrives, she brings stuff that you don't even see, you don't even know. The abundance that she brings, you don't even know, which is telling us that there is more than what we know there is. We have to trust. And when Oya arrives, she arrives as the Akugo, as the breath and me. So I'm going to sing the sequence. Ailo da Oya okuo, todo monde que yo ayaba. Ailo da Oya okuo, todo monde que yo ayaba. Oya de Mario, o me saloro yokoro, o ya de Mario, o me saloro yokoro, ahí lo da o ya okuo, todo monde que yo ayaba. Ahí lo da Oya okuo, todo monde que yo ayaba. Kifa omo futame, todo monde que yo ayaba. Ahí lo da Oya okuo, todo monde que yo ayaba. Waye waye akuko, emi oloyansa. Waye waye akuko, emi oyansa. Maye waye akuko, Emi oyansa, waye waye akuko. Emi oloyansa, waye waye akuko. Emi oyansa, waye waye akuko. Thank you.
Yay.
And again, yes, yes. So again, that song is saying that, oh, Yah comes through as the breath and me.
Uh-oh. Did he freeze? Oh, there you go.
She comes through as a me. Waye means to come to the earth. And me, Oloyansa, is saying that she is the me. She is the breath, and she comes to the earth.
Ashe.
Okay? You have to trust in our breath, people, especially now.
Okay.
What's happening in the world is not your responsibility. It's your responsibility to breathe and listen and understand what is your work. What is your work? You have to understand what is your work. And I pray that you're listening to the good advice, to the guidance that is given by your spirit, by your ancestors, by your Orisha, so that you are not out here going Ocha and going crazy, doing just everything and anything with your energy because you are outraged. May you live with guidance. Take pause. Take a second to breathe and understand that when you breathe, you are being guided. Ashe.
Ashe. So, getting back to where we started with Elegua and getting guidance and breathing. So for those of you who don't have, actually, even if you have Elegua, you can do this. For those of you who don't have Elegua, when you are out in the street and find yourself at a quote unquote crossroad at the four corners, there's nothing that doesn't say that you can't stop and pause and listen and pay attention and think about things and ask for assistance and intervention and guidance when you're looking for that, where you're in a place where you can't make a decision about what to do, or you're in your feelings about something. You can ask Elegua there. Ask him and say a prayer and take a deep breath and listen. Because the most important Orisha is your Ori.
Ashe.
Your Ori is connected to Olodumare. So guess what? You have God in you. We all have God in us, whether you're initiated or not. And you have to have that fearless faith to believe. And then when you're standing on the corner, you have to have that fearless faith that you can ask a Legua question and have him respond to you. Thank you, Ama, for bringing that up, because I almost forgot to ask about the virtual auto for Batala that you guys are doing. So if you could talk about that a little bit also.
For sure. There's two events that are coming up. So tomorrow, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm doing respiratory ritual, respiratory activism with Shango. So we're going to be singing and moving to Shango to hold space for grief and to guide people as to what to do now or next with this energy, with their outrage, with their grief about George Floyd. Tomorrow on Facebook Live, via the Oludare Facebook Live page. So just type in Oludare with the accent over the E on Facebook. You'll find it at 3:30 p.m. We're going to be moving, we're going to be breathing, we're going to be singing, etc. there. June 20th, 2020, we are holding an oral for Obatala for world peace and healing. Obatala is another one of the Orisha that is leading the year. So as we did the oral for Oshun, it's because Oshun is leading the year as well. But so is Obatala, helping us to keep our heads cool and to help us to have peace and tranquility through this time. And also, Obatala is a warrior. That's one thing people don't understand about Obatala. Obatala wears white because Obatala has to wear white. Because Obatala is one of the hottest Orisha there is. Obatala is one of the only Orisha that has to hit the floor when it comes to earth, because he has to be cooled down first. And then we lift Obatala up so that we call Obatala with peace.
This is on Facebook, right?
Yeah, it's on Facebook. It's on Facebook, the Oludare page. So, it's to be understood. And right now there is a war going on. And, right now it's important for us to hold peace within ourselves and be guided within this war, within this Osa, within this changing energy, so that we're in alignment. So yes, June 20th, 2020, in honor of Father's Day, in honor of Obatala, on Facebook Live page Oludare at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, and IG. Yes, the Oro is going to be on Facebook, IG, and Zoom. We're hooking that up, all of the platforms. But just follow Oludare Live. Follow Kire Wellness on Instagram. That's KIIREWELLNESS, for more info, for updates. Also on Facebook, if you have Facebook, Oludare page is going to be posting more information about the Oro as well. But you have the time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, June 20th, 2020, as well. And thank you, Amma, about the hats. Yes.
She likes the hats.
Yes.
The Santo hats.
Yeah.
So Donna, even though you're not on Facebook, there's a Zoom meeting that you can join, and it'll also be on Instagram. I watched the Oshun one.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this in a demeaning way. Y'all are cute because it's Oludare, his mom, and Amma, and it's the cutest thing, most beautiful thing you'll ever see singing for Orisha. I love it.
It's all in the family. We keep it all.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I loved it. So I can't wait for the 20th.
Yeah.
We're gonna end soon. So people that have questions, please post them now. We're gonna be on here for another couple more minutes, and we'll try to answer some questions. I'm gonna give you guys a bonus song that's out of this book again, because this book I mentioned has odus, has the songs, has pictures of the plants.
Yes. See, that's what I'm talking about.
This book is hardcore.
That's lit. That's lit.
She's initiated in Osine, so she's like, this woman's incredible. So this is a great book.
She lit.
But we're gonna get back to the Weriyeye plant, the peony plant. Mm-hmm. There's a song that goes, Weriyeye, 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 we amogan, we amogan, bueni aleyo, Ocha umbo wa oche. The second part of the song says, Omodara we maore. That song says that you are no longer an aleyo because we use the amogan and a weriyeye plant on your head. And Ocha, we're asking Ocha to come now because you're no longer an aleyo because we use the weriyeye plant. That's that song. Anyway, that's in the book.
Yes. That's dope.
All right, so let's see. Did we get any questions? Amma says Maria's book's on Amazon. That's good. Just make sure, if you're getting it on Amazon, make sure it says 3rd edition, because there's previous editions that don't have some additional information that she's added. Make sure it's the 3rd edition of the book. Maria is Ogunbemi, and that's her website as well. OGGUNBEMI. Ogunbemi. And if you go to ogunbemi.com, you can get the book there also. 3rd edition. What advice would you give to people who want to learn but don't know where to begin? For years, I felt it's where I'm supposed to be, pero no tengo ayuda. All right, so we talked about this in one of the first episodes. And so the first place you got to start is with your ancestors. Mm-hmm. You have to get direction from spirit, because you're going to try to find someone to guide you spiritually. And it has to be someone that you're compatible with, that you trust, that is on the same vibration that you are, that you feel comfortable, because you're going to be in a vulnerable place. And the way to get there is through your ancestors. You have to ask. If you're dreaming about your your grandmother, or someone else that's passed in your life, or a spirit that you know is with you, what have you, you ask that spirit to give you guidance. Before you go to bed, you say some prayers. In the morning, you say some prayers, and you ask for guidance. They will guide you to the person that's supposed to teach you and bring you into this tradition. They will guide you there. You have to trust, and you have to ask for that guidance from your spirit. And you're going to have that feeling in your gut. It could be a good feeling, it could be a bad feeling. When you meet a santero or babala or whatever, and your stomach feels funny, like, trust that. That's not the person. then that's the best advice I can give you to get started. Obviously, there's books you can read on my page. I posted a bunch of books just to give you some information about the tradition. There's some more specific books in there too, but you have to start with working with your spirits so that they can help you and guide you to where you need to go. Would you like to add something to that, Oludare?
I would just say ditto. Everything starts with the ancestors. Everything starts with Ori. What's beautiful right now is that there's so much information out there. So that's like a blessing and a curse. But there's a lot of information out there that's just like there to help you spiritually first. So, you know, start with spirit. And that's because that's where I started. I started with spirit before. You know, I grew up in a house of Ocha. So my mom had Ocha, my brother had Ocha. No, my mom had Ocha, my sister had Ocha, and my father had Ocha when I was born. And I just remember always thinking it was my Ocha, but it wasn't my Ocha. Like, you know, like it wasn't my Ocha yet. I know nothing about Ocha. I thought I did. I was like, that's mine. Like, but what? Every time I saw that, I'd be like, that's mine. And they'd be like, that's not yours. Yeah, you have to get yours. You know, like I'm new. Like I just came around. So no matter what, if you're new and you just come around, just be patient. Just be patient. And again, keep breathing. Like just be patient. Because what can happen is that if you rush, you're gonna find somebody that's gonna want to take care of you. But when I say take care of you, I don't mean that in a good way. You know, there's a lot of people who are ready and willing to capitalize, you know, off of folks who need spiritual help, who are ready, like ready. And they're not even ready to capitalize off of people who need spiritual help and give them something real. Like there's people who are literally giving out Ocha the wrong way on purpose, you know, who don't have ceremony. They just, you know, have read a book and they put it together and, you know, do what they do. And so, you know, you have to be very, very careful about being so eager to have something that you don't necessarily know yet. Orisha is something that you grow a relationship with, and they have to grow a relationship with you too. And when they ready to be in your life, they're going to be in your life. And that's something you have to trust. That's something you have to trust and not worry about. It can't be a worry like, when am I getting Ocha? It could be a want. And that's great. I wanted to make Ocha forever. When I knew I wanted to make Ocha, I was about like 7 years old, but I didn't make Ocha until I was 13. So, you know, people say, oh my God, you make Ocha so young. That's such a gift and things like that. But yeah, I still had to wait. I just knew I wanted it earlier, but I had to wait. I waited years.
I see.
Bembe after Bembe, and they would just be like, it's coming. You know, the Oshun's waiting for you. This one's waiting for you. Don't worry. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was years, and it was like, oh my gosh, you know. And I just remember every step. I remember when my brother made Ocha, I was like, yes, that means I'm one step closer. You know, I was like, yes. I was like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's still a journey, and you have to be confident in the journey and in the steps that you're taking and in your intentions. And if your intentions are pure, know that Orisha already know you there. Like it's that kind of thing. Yeah, like there can be no rush. You have to trust the steps. And what I would add, the question I would ask is, what do I need to be doing, you know, right now spiritually to prepare me? And a lot of people have spiritual work to do. So, you know, like, do you have a bovita set up, etc., things like that? You know, like little, like small things. Like, do you understand how to work a glass of water in a candle? Do you know who your ancestors are? All of those things, because your ancestors walk into the room with you. You know, your spiritual guides walk into the room with you. And so maybe the blockages to the Ocha room are coming from there. There's things that we have to do before we even get to the Ocha room. Even once you have the godparents and the guidance and the money and the resources and everything to make Ocha, you still got work to do before you even get to come to that door. So that's, I feel like, the deeper question to be asking. It's like, okay, you know, what's good with my ancestry? What's good with the ancestors? Just like you said, you know.
Right. Well, also to echo what Key said is not everybody needs to make Ocha.
That's another thing.
You can love Orisha and be a devotee. You don't have to go through an initiation. So it may not be for you. It's not something that you have to do. So that's just something else to keep in mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to, everyone has a different path.
Yep.
And, we're all here to get through this existence and elevate ourselves for the next one. And it may or may not involve being initiated.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak about limitation of spiritual expectations for each levels in the tradition, devotees, initiates, and priests? Limitation of spiritual expectation. I don't know what that means.
Me neither.
Spiritual expectation is anything that has to do with spirituality is unlimited. Let me put it to you that way. Spirituality and the religion are two different things. So I don't know what you mean, Donna, by spiritual expectation. Maybe you can clarify. But
it sounds like
spiritually. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It sounds like we kind of talked to that already, right? That like when you're an aleo, there's certain things you need to be worried about. When you're a priest, there's certain things you need to be worried about. If you're a devotee, there's certain things that you know what I'm saying, that you should be worried about. And I don't mean
like things you should know, like what you should know, you mean?
Yeah, what you should know, what you should, like what your level is, like what you should be working with. Like,
okay.
So for instance, like, like I have a friend right now, she just received her warriors, and every day that we talk, it's about Obi, and it's about her talking to Elegba and Ogun, and the conversations that she's having with them with Obi, and what the Obi meant, and this and that. Like that's a very particular understanding, just getting to know the tools and how to communicate with a particular Orisha that you just received. Right. So what I would say is that, like, on each level, everything that you receive, it's a relationship. Your Alekes, there's a relationship with your Alekes. A godparent, there's a relationship with the godparent, right? It's not just they do for you and you do for, it's a relationship. You have to grow the relationship with the Orisha that you receive. When you receive it, like, wow, you have to grow the relationship. So I would just say at every level, whatever it is that you're receiving, whatever information, whatever deity you're receiving, it's about working that relationship. And before you get another Orisha or you do another ceremony, what have you done with what you already have? Even if it's just a reading, what's the relationship that you have with that information?
I see. Yeah, I mean, you listen, I know people that have elekes that know a lot more than priests. So it's not about, what initiations you have. It's what you're doing with what you're with the information that you're given or the information you're seeking. So I would say, as everyone else is saying, like in terms of steps, the first step is to get elekes. If you want to have a closer relationship with Orisha, the first step is to get elekes. And at that point, you continue to study and learn and get closer to those Orishas and learn about them. And your ancestors, your guides will guide you. They'll tell you, okay, we need to take this next step. Literally, I was having dreams. I like everyone else, I waited a long time. I waited because I was scared, because I knew it was a big responsibility. I knew for a long time that I was going to be involved in the tradition, and I stayed away because I just wasn't ready. But then I started having dreams, and people coming to me and showing me things, and you got to do this and do that, and I paid attention. But yeah, that's the part. I would say start with the lekes, and well, obviously find godparents. So going back to my first step, do your work with your spirits, and have them help you find your godparents, and then get elekes. Trust me, your spirits will let you know exactly. They'll let you know what you're supposed to be doing, because that's their job, is here to help you on your path. All right. So thank you, everybody. Oludare, it was a real honor and blessing to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome here. So listen, whenever you have something you want to say and you feel like talking, we're here Fridays at 5 o'clock. You're always welcome.
Ashe.
This is not a one-time thing. Same goes for your sister. Same goes for Key. Everybody that's here is always welcome. Everybody I'm recognizing the same faces or names every week showing up. So I'm glad these conversations are resonating with people.
Okay.
Thank you guys for listening to me in the beginning, venting about, you know, what's going on right now in this white supremacist country. Thank you, Oludare, for sharing, you know, your thoughts on breathing and how to get through it. And yeah, just thank you, everybody. And I'm not sure if the first hour got saved. I'm gonna check. I think there was a problem because I played a song in the beginning, and it's like complaining that, you know, I don't have rights to the song. So it might not have saved the first hour, but it's fine. You were here. The people that were here got to experience the conversation. And we'll be back next Friday. We'll do it again. Yeah. Thank you, Oludare.
Yes.
And follow Oludare on Instagram.
Yeah, Oludare Live is my personal like Instagram where I turn up. And Key Ray Wellness is my business Instagram where I do all of my classes where you can book one-on-one sessions and healing work, etc., etc., etc. So thank y'all.
Yeah. And last but not least, if you feel it in your heart to donate, you can cash at me at Casa Mena. And
Hey.
What's the other thing? Cash App, PayPal, all of them, Casa Mena. You can look for Casa Mena on all of them.
Yes, send that.
Donate on all of those. Oh, Venmo, that's the other one, Casa Mena. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Have a blessed weekend. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to get Oludare's book.
Yes.
And
it's ready for pre-order right now.
Hey, Tom, bendición.